tomatoes too. Allow me to share. Okay, is the video on play?
Click again. Yeah.
And the masters of the universe.
Okay, again. Okay, there we go. The He-Man series started in 1983, intended for young boys. They came up with a spin-off show in 1985 called She-Ra, intended for young girls. They're about twin brother and sister Adam and Azora saving the universe from evil villains Skeletor and Hordak. Anyone who grew up watching the show 40 years ago can tell you the fun they had watching this show. However, the two shows aren't wildly different. In fact, they're incredibly similar. I don't know many people who disagree with me. In fact, the show was downright repetitive, and there was a lack of ongoing storyline. This made it difficult to form connections to the characters and left me feeling distance from everything happening inside of the show. This is because of when the show was made 40 years ago. If you missed an episode, you can just go back and stream it. And I understand this fact, however, I do feel that it overall harmed the show's quality. Something that kept me sane through the 45 hours and 30 minutes of the series was keeping track of the moral of the story at the end of each episode. Here are some of my favorites. Oh, okay. Using your brain is more important than using your muscles. People from history were people once. Drowning is dangerous. Fire is dangerous. It's not fun to be sick. Don't blame people for doing stuff that's wrong. Appearance is how you look on the outside. It's okay to enslave men if women can live luxuriously. So why did I choose to watch the He-Man series? Because I couldn't watch Grey's Anatomy. My second reason was because I wanted to dive deeper into two shows that had similar themes but different audiences. He-Man and She-Ra fit this criteria perfectly, and that worked out super well for me. I walked into this project expecting She-Ra to preach nonviolence. I expected He-Man to kick villain butt with no remorse. I wanted to see how the writers would portray the characters in each show. I was specifically interested in the show's treatment of women. That doesn't mean I wasn't interested in how the show treated men. I was specifically interested in the show's treatment of women. Oh, I just wrote the same time. These expectations of mine came from what's almost a running joke. When shows are recreated for female audiences, the material just totally changes. It's no longer about this epic story, but instead about how girls rule and boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. When in the original show, there was never any focus on these topics, and my project was made to go over this very change. And with bleak expectations, I marched into She-Ra headfirst, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was delighted to see that She-Ra was just as violent as He-Man, if you can call 80s violence violent at all. Both shows preached to nonviolence, doing what's only necessary to resolve the situation at hand. Both shows wanted audiences to practice forgiveness even when it was hard. And as I got into She-Ra, I realized my focus would have to shift. As I expected She-Ra to be all flowery, I didn't think it would be so similar to He-Man. The show's treatment of everything was the same. Each show had the same problems. And after looking into the 80s climate on feminism, this made much more sense to me. The issue was more related to showing working women working and supporting their family, saying, I can do it all. Sitcoms like The Cosby Show nearly got it right, having working mother protagonists who managed the whole family. I approached He-Man with today's climate on feminism in mind. Today we focus on sexism behind the screen and focus on more equal representation and allowing all women to have a voice. With this mindset, I looked into the show a second time. She-Ra had no problem hiding her double identity. He-Man was angry that he had to keep it together. She-Ra, for some reason, had more abilities than He-Man. She could talk to animals for some reason that's still not clear to me. She-Ra was more tactical than He-Man. He throws rocks, she sets tripwire traps. These are subtle things within the shows. He-Man's quiet about his disdain of his secret life, and She-Ra throws big rocks too. But subtle things are most important to my project, stuff that may not have even been intentional. So, whoops. What were some of the things I noticed while watching the show? The villains. Male lackeys had physical abilities, strength, strange abilities that would allow them to stop the good guys in their tracks. What was strange? Every single one of them had a mutation of sorts. All of them. This is strange when you look at the female villains. There's another one. They're remarkably pretty human. The mutations don't take away from the fact that they're distinctly women. They have long, flowy locks of hair. maybe a pretty face, perhaps a really tight cloak. You would be hard-pressed to hear that they're either manipulative, have the power to manipulate people, or have magic that they use to manipulate people. This difference is from the fact that women and men have different vocabularies, I feel. Women are seen as manipulative, men are seen as controlling. Women are seen as sneaky, while men are seen as calculated. And this came out pretty strongly in the villains. The scandalous outfits. I didn't expect He-Man to have the most scandalous outfit out of all of the characters. He walks around in the Speedo, and it's not even a good one. It is an ugly Speedo. And that haircut, please do not get me started. Plus, the women's outfits are basically just bodysuits. And I would just like to make a disclaimer that anything I say about disliking He-Man does not apply to Orko. He was my favorite character, and he made the show worth watching. It's important to do stuff that we don't like. What if I did watch Grey's Anatomy? I would have locked myself up in my room all 10 weeks of senior seminar, besides the fact that I probably would have had to if I wanted to finish all 19 seasons. Watching something I hated was me pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. My project was arguably pretty laid back. I mean, somebody built tables all summer long. It's a good idea to watch older media. This is because it's good to see where we have come from. It's nice to understand old references, and as stupid as it sounds, media from the past is still history that we should consume. On to another point, I prefer sitting in my house with my AC on reading a book to going outside. This may sound like it was beneficial to my project. Wrong. Oh, it's somewhere. Wrong. In fact, I did pretty much anything to avoid watching He-Man. You couldn't catch me indoors. Have you done your senior seminar yet, Tina? I went hiking. Have you watched He-Man this week? Sorry, I went camping. You need to do your senior seminar. I went volunteering at the beach. Whoops. Have you even started your senior seminar yet? Sorry, I fell down the stairs and I'm in the hospital getting surgery. It's important to do stuff that we don't like because that makes the stuff we do like that much more enjoyable. Plus, He-Man made me prefer. Hiking made me prefer watching He-Man. Stuff you hate doing will drain the life from you. But I wouldn't change my idea knowing how it turned out. Plus, it makes me feel very informed to be in the loop about all these things. And I went into the store and I saw a really ugly action figure. And I realized it was a 1981 Man-at-Arms figure. And I felt unstoppably intelligent. At first, what I thought of was a strong representation of women in media was actually the 80s version of what we have going on today. I look back at She-Ra, and I think probably people thought that it was just as flawed as representation as shows are today. What I mean is, look at 1985 She-Ra. Now look at the modern one. The new show was probably what people thought when She-Ra was released. We've come so far from 1985 that now the OG She-Ra feels like a strong representation. This is because our view on feminism is constantly changing in the media. And I'm sure of that looking 40 years back at She-Ra. I'm also sure that some sad sap taking senior seminar 40 years from now will look back at media today compared to the media 40 years from now and think that same thing I thought before I watched the He-Man series.